A long time ago, John scaped this 29-gallon with a bunch of stuff we had laying around. He put some driftwood and a bunch of fake plants in it. Well, the days of fake plants are over for us. It's time to make this tank right. This is a project I did way back in November, and I stored this footage away so that I could make this video long after it's done to show you not only what it looked like immediately after it's done, but also what it looks like almost 6 months later. You may recall John scaping his peacock and hap tank with branches from our sycamore trees in it. In that video, he said he got the idea from me. Well, this tank is where he got it. I wanted to incorporate sticks from our trees in it because I love that look, and Lord knows we've got enough of these branches laying around. These trees are over 200 years old, and I swear it's practically a full-time job picking up all the sticks that drop from them. The plants that I used in this project will be listed on the screen, and there's 2 interesting stories about them. The first is where they came from, and the second is how I fertilized them. Tropica reached out to us a long time ago about carrying their plants, and we decided to get a whole bunch of them to test out. We scaped a few tanks with them, but we also bought a bunch to put in John's plant room to see how they'd hold up in our system. Well, those plants stayed in one tank for almost 3 months with no fertilizer at all and no water changes. John just topped off the water when it got low, and this is what it looked like. This is definitely what made us say, okay, if these plants can hold up that well with no attention given to them at all, I think we can sell them. But that's not the controversial fertilizer I was talking about when I titled this video. The controversial part is what comes next. When I was done with this tank, I just wanted to let it grow out and really come to life for a long time before I added fish. I took care of the tank the way I would any other tank, and I just watched the plants grow and fill in, and the crazy thing about it was this tank was just as fun to watch as any tank I have with fish. But about a month after this tank was done, something sad happened. I came into the fish house and I found a large peacock dead in John's tank. We keep a lot of tanks that have huge numbers of fish in them, so this unfortunately isn't something new. In fact, it happens more often than I'd like to admit. Well, this particular day I had a crazy idea. I thought, why not do the same thing I've done with some of my house plants and also in my garden? You might not know this, but I'm kind of a plant freak. In fact, my obsession with houseplants has a lot to do with why we sell live aquarium plants on our website now. I have a house full of plants and a fish house full of fish, and unfortunately, sometimes we'll have a fish die. Well, I've taken those dead fish and buried them in my potted plants, and you'd be surprised how well that works as fertilizer. I know, it sounds morbid, but I look at it like this. This fish that lost its life can help support another life. Yeah, I know. It's really cheesy, but it does work. You can even Google it. Well, when I found that dead fish in John's tank, I had the idea to try that in this tank. I buried that huge fish in the substrate right below all of the plants, and you know what? The plants absolutely exploded with growth afterwards. Now, I want to be clear. There were no fish in this tank when I did this. I repeat, there were no fish in this tank when I did this. I wouldn't have even considered this if there were fish in here because a large dead fish would cause a huge spike in ammonia and kill all of them, but it won't have the same effect on plants because plants feed off of ammonia. So I added the dead fish into the substrate and left it alone for months until I added some snails. Yeah, I have an obsession with snails too, and this tank has just flourished. It's grown in super nicely, and I couldn't be any happier. About a month ago, John and I took a trip up to our favorite fish store, Aquarium's Unlimited, to get fish for this tank. I bought 24 tiny silver-tipped tetras, and they're so super cute. But I didn't put them in the 29-gallon right away. Instead, I put them in my 15-gallon column tank to give the 29-gallon even more time to settle in. Plus, I knew we were going to be moving this tank soon to make room for my new tank that's coming later this summer. After this tank had sat for 5 months, John and I moved it to its new spot, and then it was time to finally add the fish. And now, here it is. The plants have grown in huge. Just look how big the ROTALAs have gotten. It's completely filled that entire side of the tank and grown all the way to the top. And all the other plants have done really well too. I gotta say, it was pretty risky putting a dead fish in this thing to use as fertilizer, but it really paid off. Is this something I'd do if I already had all these silver tips in it? Of course not. But to put it in a tank that's fishless and just growing out, sure, why not? Like always, if you're interested in picking up any of these Tropica plants, I'll have a link in the pinned comment. You can click that while you're down there subscribing. If you've ever done anything like this before or, something similar, then let me know in the comment section. I would love to hear if other people had a similar idea. Thank you so much for listening to my story, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.